Hello and welcome to another video. So I had some requests for an unlimited SwordCraft deck, so I thought let's get into it. I found a base version of the deck from the Eternal Coliseum tournament, and I thought why not adjust it just to fit with the cards that I both have and how the meta is shaping up. So I have included 3 Albert and 3 Zeta, sorry 2 Zeta. Seems to do really well. Of course I would probably run more Honorable Knight, but personally I'm not the biggest fan of that card in general. Everything else though you can't really change too much, it just seems to function very well as is. Tycoon you might have a little leeway on, but it's nice to have that potential, which is always good. Ironwrought Fortress plus Mars is actually an amazing combo and works extremely well. And then of course other cards like Luminous Knight, Princess Julia and other storm based cards do a wonderful job at getting your opponent down. So I want to get right into it and check this deck out. So right now in the current meta, Sword has one big disadvantage in both Unlimited and Rotation. It is extremely costly to build their decks. They require a lot of legendaries. Of course there are variants of aggro that don't, but majority still do. You're looking at a minimum of 6 to 9 legendaries for Sword and probably a maximum of around 15 pretty comfortably without any issue, as the legendaries in Sword are just extremely good and they range in cost quite well. So definitely something to keep in mind. It's very hard to sub out legendaries in Sword decks as they usually serve a certain role. There are very few that I could personally sub out that I wouldn't be happy with, but overall I found this deck to be a lot of fun and work really well. So getting the 2-drop Ironwrought I found is great. Of course your opponent can counter it quite easily with Seraphic Blade, as it is only a 2-drop amulet, but I found a lot of people don't seem to be using Seraphic Blade in that way anymore, at least not in Unlimited. Rotation of course you will find a lot more, so it's not surprising there, but definitely in Unlimited, very few, like this Forest player, still running Seraphic Blade, and usually I can only take advantage of it probably once. So we start off pretty solid then. We got a nice developed board. We end up with another Ironwrought Fortress, which is great considering we also have Tycoon as a commander for a 2-drop. If you are going to replace Tycoon, definitely try and sub it for a low cost commander. It's definitely the way I would go with the deck, as I think that would do the most benefit for the deck. Then we go face comfortably for 3 damage and we have a pretty stocked up board. The only problem we're going to have now is dealing with these constant fairy spam and then basically just beating our opponent down enough to win the game. Whispering Woods is not going to be fun. More draw power for our opponent is never a good thing. I did decide to throw out the Ironwrought there just so that I could get another one. I thought that was going to be the best move I had available to me at the time, as may as well get the 1-2 and clear something, even if it cost me just 1 damage. And we're pretty set now. We got a Princess Juliet, a pretty solid board. They're pretty much forced to deal with what we have, so they're going to be wasting resources doing so. So as you can see here, definitely have to waste those resources on the cards we've got on board. It should be pretty easy for us to at least get close to picking up the win here. I do decide to sacrifice another 1 damage in a trade-off, just so I can go for Mars and for Princess Juliet pretty comfortably, and get a 1-3, instead of leaving up the 1-2. Plus we got to clear the fairy, which is always a good advantage to have, making sure they've got very minimal things on board. And the 3-6 I really wasn't worried about. Mainly getting that face damage is key here. Fortunately for us, they left up 3 damage and we have Usurpation, which is going to give us 1. We also drew Dragonites, which would have gave us more than enough, but Usurpation definitely a lot more fun to use. The Apostle does a wonderful job at picking off an extra 1 damage when you need it. So now up against Shadow. No shock there. Shadow, again, being popular on current ladder, both Rotation and Unlimited. It's not a shock that we face that fairly regularly. This deck seems to have a fairly decent matchup against Shadow overall. Of course, you can brick. I did have one game that I bricked extremely hard on. Drew all 5-drop cards, pretty much lost because I couldn't secure the early game, but if you can get a 2 or 3 drop, usually you're going to be pretty okay with this deck, at least from the experience I've had so far. So of course, kicking things off, Ironwrought Fortress into Mars. I feel like that's definitely the best opening line of play you could possibly have, even if in this case it does take the risk of this Belonus clearing Mars. It's definitely one I'm worth taking. Fran Monster Girl, that one's a little rough because it does mean they can pretty much wipe most of this out now. I'm sorry, completely wiped this out. I forgot the Belenus's ping would be a direct hit there. Lux Solar Lancer, not really a problem. Getting a double draw and securing 2 legendaries is going to be fine. I do like drawing the Albert for 5. It seems to always do a nice job for me. So now we're in a little bit of a predicament. We do have to deal with the 3-4 and the 2-2s. I think the best way is definitely going to be the Luminous Mage. We can clear out the 3-4, leave up the couple of Belenus. We do get a couple of 1-2s thanks to the fact that both of these are actually commanders. And we have a chance to use Round Table, which again could restock our board if we need it. Definitely seems to do very well in this deck to restock the board. I would actually nearly be tempted to stick in a Craving somewhere, just for a little bit of extra. Even though that would make it a little more late game finisher, or mid game you could say. Didn't mind that trade-off, definitely one I'm willing to take. We have a fairly decent board and Zeta's going to do a fairly good job. So I was actually going to be pretty happy to lose the 1-1 here, as it was the least of my worries. So this Belenus was definitely something I was willing to take. But it did hit the 3-4, which is still fine. I was just quite happy to lose the 1-1. It really wasn't a concern for me. I wanted to free up a little bit of board space to take full advantage of Ironwrought Fortress when I play something else next turn, which will most likely be Albert, provided we don't need anything else here yet. Although Round Table is looking fairly decent, as we are going to get a nice Storm and a pretty decent buff. So we get to go face 4-7, setting up a pretty decent Albert, pretty decent Bitrix, and of course turn 8 Drag Knights. We would have had so many good options, which worked out really well for us, giving us the victory anyway. So I hope you guys have enjoyed these Unlimited videos. This Sword deck was a lot of fun as well. I quite enjoyed playing Unlimited for a little bit of fun, but at the moment it seems like it's one of the easiest metas to probably gain advantage in, so I could definitely see people easily climbing to the Unlimited Masters at the moment, especially if you're running Blood or Sword. They seem to do absolute wonders with the current decks around, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Find the deck list in the description below. Until next time, see ya.